Good afternoon. This is TTT Live and TTT Live online on Facebook. I'm DK Roster with a response to COVID-19. Now, bookstores were opened on June 1 in this phase of relaxing COVID-19 measures. June has also been acknowledged as National Caribbean American Heritage Month in the U.S. Now, hashtags have spread it back to source in the Caribbean as far as literature is concerned, especially with the United States being a large market for Caribbean literature. It is a busy month for publishers due to people purchasing text before holidays, or should I say that it usually is. Now, in today's Responding to COVID-19, we speak with Marina Salandy Brown, Bocas Litfest founder and director, Tanya Batson-Savage, an author-publisher, and Lisa Allen-Agostini, author, writer, editor, stand-up comedian. Thank you, ladies, for spending some time with us. Now, Tanya, I want to start off with you, please. Looking at the COVID-19 figures in JA, 588 to date, I believe. How has the pandemic affected your efforts?
Well, the pandemic, for what's happened in Jamaica in terms of in the book world, there is a way in which in the physical world, as with much things, it's shut down. Some bookstores were still the bookstores didn't really close. So they've been trying to do some activity, the usual curbside pickup, calling and ordering. And then, but my understanding in having spoken with some booksellers is that there has not been a lot of traction. However, on the other end of the spectrum is there is a lot of digital activity. The literary community seems to be enjoying this time quite a bit. So in terms of business, in terms of dollars and cents, at our end here, it has not been great. But in terms of building a literary community, that seems to be working well.
And Marina, I want to continue with you, thank you. I know there are 3 days in September, the 18th, 19th, and 20th, but what else has the Bocas Litfest had to do in light of the current situation?
Well, you know, everything that Tanya says is absolutely correct. It's a good time and it's a bad time because the bookshops have been closed. A lot of our bookshops here have been asking for special treatment to be seen as essential services, of course, which they should be considered. But the dates you mentioned, of course, are the new dates for our annual festival, which normally happens in April, at the very end of April, usually the last weekend of April. And of course, with COVID, we'd had to move it till the 18th to the 20th of September. Now, your guess is as good as mine whether that's going to happen. So we're working with a plan A and a plan B, and we're testing our plan B all now. We started in April. We decided that we simply had to do something. Since we had the dates, the 1st to the 3rd of May, in everybody's diary, because this is the 10th year of our festival, what we plan to do, you know, we've got I just think we're extremely lucky because we planned, not knowing COVID was going to happen, to have a shorter festival this year from the 1st to the 3rd, which is just 3 days instead of a 5-day festival, which is like a Wednesday to a Sunday. We're going to go Friday to Sunday. And we were going to eke out bits of our festival programming, which has about 100 events over those 5 days. We were going to take some of those and dot them through the course of the year. Of course, we were thinking of doing this mainly physically, but with some virtual component. But that was not a very developed idea. And what COVID caused us to do was to very quickly, get that idea rolling. And we've all had to learn, well, particularly Nicholas Loughlin, who's our program director, he's had to learn very, very quickly how to start, doing online programming. And we've done it. We launched our mini festival on the 1st of May, and we've continued. We're doing 2 or 2.5 to 3 events every week, which we intend to continue right up until the festival. We're still working out what kind of festival we're going to do. And then after the festival, till December, we have to carry on. I don't think that's going to go away. I think what Tanya was saying is right, that we're actually building up a huge community for writers and readers. And I think that's working well. So now we have a new dynamic to play with. It's exciting.
And COVID-19 definitely is a new dynamic and a big old wrinkle. And Lisa, I want to bring you in on this point, please, because you recently published the 2nd edition of a book, Home, Home, a name that I truly love. Now, what differences do you see between the 1st and the 2nd edition that possibly you can attribute to COVID-19?
Well, the two editions came out under very different circumstances. The book was published after the manuscript won a prize in the Bird Caribbean Awards for Young Adult Literature. And it was originally published by Papillon Press, which is a UK Dominican publisher. And of course, there was no COVID at that time. So, it just came out. And of course, the program of the Bird Awards is one that supports the publishers. So there was a prize for the authors, but also the publishers who picked up the manuscripts were guaranteed a certain number of books being sold, which is like, God bless them, because the Birds Award really facilitated the spread of young adult Caribbean literature in the region. And that same manuscript that Papillon published, they sold to the North American rights to Delacorte. And Delacorte now has issued this new edition. And of course, it's coming out in the middle of this pandemic. It's come out, the publication date was the 26th of May. And it's been, the most immediate strange thing is that copies can't go out physically. Here's a copy of my book. Why don't you do a review? Now I have to say, here it's essentially the same thing, but it just feels a little bit different. There's something about the tactile, actual, having a book in your hand and so on. Of course, as Tanya said, people really are going out and buying books. There's some online activity and so on. So I don't know. There's no Bird Prize to support this publication. So this one is just going to sink or swim on its own merit. Thank God it's been getting some good reviews. Praise the Lord. So hopefully, even with the restrictions of the period, it will go, it will sell.
And speaking of going, fingers crossed for that. But
yeah.
Marina, you spoke about community, and I want to take that to Tanya. What opportunities do you see for Caribbean literature during this period? And this is in the context of actually seeing an individual like iNation Books in Jamaica being mobile and going to places. So he would have already had that model already. Do you see any positives or opportunities for Caribbean literature during this time? Big sigh.
I'm going to try and frame this response in the most positive way I can think of. And it's that I am not seeing many opportunities outside of the community building, but that doesn't mean they aren't there. What is happening and what I'm finding is striking is it seems to, the building of online communities seems to be building a better conversation across the region and in the diaspora. So, for example, I'm set to have a conversation, I think it's on Facebook Live or Instagram, I'm not sure, with the Brooklyn Caribbean Lit Festival, talking about Caribbean books because it's as you mentioned at the beginning, it's National Caribbean American Month. And so, but I'm seeing more of those conversations. I'm seeing where Bocas is having an event, which the other day they had their Bring Your Own Book and Bottle event, and I was a part of it. Now, for the last several years, I've been wanting to go to Bocas, and something always comes up, or I can't afford it this year, and something, and I haven't been. So that virtual event was the first time I've been to Bocas since 2014. And so I'm finding across regional and into the diaspora dynamic that I think is way more lively, and I think there are opportunities to build on that. I don't think those opportunities have unfolded yet completely, but it seems that people who are very good in the digital space are making use of it. There is a book club in Jamaica, Rebel Women's Lit, that I forget which magazine they recently got. They got a nice shout out from, which is talking about literary book clubs that have gone virtual. And it's also because, they've been able to expand what they do and how they do in this time when writers and readers usually like to share together in the same space, and there is no replacing that, and that's still a very important thing. But we are making do in the time that we have, and I'm sure opportunities will show themselves as we go along.
And speaking of making do with the time we have, it is time for us to take a small pause. When we return, I actually want to start the conversation with you, Marina, about the traditional role of literary festivals and how that may be changing. Welcome back to Response to COVID-19 on TTT Talk City 91.1 FM, as well as on Facebook at TTT Live Online. I am speaking about Caribbean literature with three young ladies, and we get to one of them, Marina Salandy Brown rather. We are wondering, what is the traditional role of literary festivals and the current status, especially as the founder and director of the Bocas Lit Fest?
Well, you know, DK, one of the special things about what makes the Bocas Lit Fest, the NGC Bocas Lit Fest, which is actually the name of our festival, special for Caribbean writers, is that so many of our writers are diaspora writers. Our most successful writers are diaspora writers. So many of our writers are in Jamaica. A lot of Jamaican writers would not normally come to Trinidad, would they? And
No.
a lot of writers don't travel around the region very much because, as you know, traveling the region is extremely difficult. And so many of our best writers live in Britain, they live in the United States. What the literary festival like the NGC Bocas Lit Fest can do is create a place where writers come back and can be with one another, they can network with one another. We actually invite publishers, agents, all sorts of people where they can network. And I think it's also very important for writers who are not at home to reconnect with their audiences. And the point about it is, until we had a literary festival, a lot of readers here, and it's not true to say people are not reading. A lot of people do read, except it wasn't sort of acceptable or fashionable, you know, to come out as a reader. It was a kind of more secret thing, which probably Lisa could attest to, but it wasn't something that everybody, you know, talked about. So a lot of people came out as readers and as writers once the festival started. I think that whole thing about readers being in contact with writers and booksellers coming to sell those books at the festival and people meeting one another and all the writers who come do workshops for all these, you know, putative writers. I think all of that is very important. As Tanya was saying, I don't think any of that will ever go away. I think that's very important. But what has actually happened is that there was a growing divide between the slightly older people who were the main constituents at the beginning of our festival and younger folk. And because so much of the new technology that's enabling this virtual literary growing community is young people's technology, like Instagram, which I'm so young lady that I don't use, Instagram, Twitter, all of these things, I think that it's bringing a much younger constituency to the world of the community of literature. And before we used to try to do that mainly with spoken word. But I think a lot of younger people, because the technology is allowing it, interfacing much more through blogging, etc., with literature. And I don't know, Lisa does a lot of teaching of younger people. I don't know whether Lisa would say that was true or not, but certainly that is what we see as a response to our work online, using a lot of Facebook and Instagram, etc.
And Lisa, let's actually follow up on that conversation with you. The ability to have different platforms to be creating content. Do you see more writers emerging as a result?
Who was that addressed to, DK?
Me.
Sorry, it was addressed to Lisa.
Okay.
Just to touch back on some of the points that were raised just now by both Tanya and Marina about the connectivity and building of community being so much more vibrant over the past few months online. It's really been astounding. There's actually, I think Bocas is involved as well. There's a 40-night week online for Camel Bracket, which is like an incredibly beautiful and meaningful gesture, and also has meaning in allowing a new generation of online and connected readers and viewers to be exposed to Kamal's work. When I was at university, his books were literally out of print. Gordon Rolle had to photocopy his books for us to study them. So, you know, I really rejoice in this kind of rebirth online as it is, and COVID. What is the thing that Shakespeare says about, oh, sweet are the uses of adversity, So we could really take that and yeah, I think there is scope for younger people to get involved in Caribbean literature, both as readers and writers, at this moment and through the technology. As a stand-up comedian as well, my career basically took a pause on International Women's Day, which is March 8th, which was my last show. And I don't know if we can have shows for the rest of the year. We don't know. All the opportunities for us performers and as writers, readers, bringing our work to the public have now shifted online. And so we're trying to figure out how we can use this space. It's a new thing. Nobody ever thought about doing Zoom interviews. It was just not a, you know what I mean? Even Skype interviews were not like, nobody wanted to do a Skype interview. So it's a whole new paradigm. It's a new generation for us. And it has affected literary festivals. So like Hay Festival was online. Bocas was is still doing a whole lot of work online. I still didn't read the article, but I saw a headline saying that a lot of the US publishers not sending contingents to Frankfurt, which is one of the biggest book fairs in the world, and it is in literary festivals and book fairs where the deals are made, where the books are bought. So it's going to have a huge impact on next year and the year after. But we don't know yet. We don't know, So a lot is jumping up. I praise God that we've been able to use the opportunities that we've had so far. And yes, bring some more, like there's a whole generation of young book bloggers, kids in their 30s, 20s, 30s. I say kids in their 30s because I'm a young lady, right, DK?
Definitely.
Who are now blogging about books and about Caribbean books in a way that, this is new and exciting. I love it. So yay for using these platforms.
Okay, but we have just under 3 minutes, so we don't have time for the book club right now. But ladies, I want to get two names or actual titles from you, please, in terms of favorite Caribbean books or authors and a little idea as to why. I'll start with you, please, Tanya.
That is, it is always so hard for me to name favorite books. Because, it's like you eat a lot of things that are really good. So these are two books that I really like, that I really love, that are top of mind right now. So I'm reframing your question.
Thank you.
One of them is Kai Miller's August Town, because it speaks so much about the racial issues in the Caribbean and elsewhere, and frames it within history and the contemporary in a way that is absolutely beautiful. And then I will go to an old favorite, which of them should I pick? That's so hard.
All right.
I feel bad. I feel like I'm neglecting my other children.
Not a problem.
I'm going to talk about that one, and then I'm not going to pick anymore.
But at the same time, so let me have one from you, please, Marina. And it doesn't need to be a favorite, but one that, like Tanya said, it's at the top of mind at this point.
Well, I can say the OCM Bocas Prize runs every year, and it names the 3 best books, not according to me, but according to international judges. 10 judges go through their fiction, non-fiction, and poetry. They come up with 3 winners, and they are Richard Georges with his book Epiphany, which is the overall winner for poetry. Shame on Me by Tessa McWatt, which is non-fiction. And Edward Denjicat won the fiction category with. So they have been told, we are told that those are the best books written by Caribbean book writers in 2019. So there you go.
Thank you very much. And Lisa, you get to squeeze yours in.
Well, okay, so very quickly, my novel, Home, is dealing with mental health issues.
All right, so, and definitely, so we take that one, and I'll throw in Sam Selvon Brackley on the Bed and the Painted Canoe by Anthony Winkler. But this has been responding to COVID-19 on TTT, Talk City 91.1 FM, and TTT Live online on Facebook. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm DK Rostar.